Bennett Davison here with EuroHooplife. We're sitting here chatting with Erron Maxey. Maxey, how you doing today?
I'm well. How are you?
Outstanding. Well, we got nothing but time since this whole Corona thing hit us with a left hook. We're all sticking at home, so no better time to do some face-to-face recordings and hear about your travels overseas.
No, I mean, that's exactly it. Everybody's just trying to stay safe, and hopefully everybody's being safe out there. And, let's go ahead and drop some hoop knowledge on people.
Let's do it. Let's talk about the Gold Coast. What year? Give me some details about it. What year were you there? Who was coaching? What did you find the situation, and how did you end up there?
Okay, I played in 2009-10 in Gold Coast Blaze. Joey Wright was the coach. And the way that I ended up going there was I had played in Argentina for the previous 3 years and ended up, getting sick, came down with Crohn's disease. At the time, I didn't know that that's what it was. And really, I was just fed up and playing in Argentina at that particular moment in time, just not being paid on time, not being paid in full. And I just felt that it was the time to go. So my agent was able to finagle a few things and was able to get the job with Gold Coast. And that was the situation for the season.
Awesome. Yeah, I went down there the 2010-2011 season. Joey was down there for the Adelaide. There was like $100,000 purse that everyone could win. He signed a contract. And that was my actual last season down there. Gold Coast is an amazingly beautiful city, good people, beautiful location. So give me a little background on what the city was like when you got there, what the situation, your living situation. If a player was to ask you, give them the details of what to expect when they get down there.
Okay, well, as we know, the Gold Coast Blaze went under, so they no longer exist in the NBL. But the city itself, lovely city. It's basically kind of the party capital of Australia. When I got there in October, I actually came in for a guy who was being let go. So I really didn't know too much about it other than the fact that it was on the beach. It was a popular place. Lovely place on top of that. I mean, it has a little bit of kind of a San Diego-ish feel to it, in my opinion. On top of that, the F.I.B.A Mall is, one of the largest malls, I believe, in Queensland. But, you have that lovely mall down there. But, I lived in a 2-bedroom condo. It was, a lovely place. It was just myself. And as far as with the facilities, we practiced at TSS, which was the boys' school, the Southport boys' school, which was, top-notch facility. Okay. And we played our games, downtown at the Civic Center, or excuse me, at the Convention Center.
Yep. Awesome. So you enjoyed the whole experience. What you enjoyed it down there, and you'd recommend somebody else
definitely.
Down there to play. I mean, obviously, if there was a team down there.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely recommend it. I mean, at the same time, I mean, Gold Coast has a lot of vices, just with a lot of nightclubs, being that it is a party scene. So if you can't control, your vices down there, it's definitely going to be a challenge. At the same time, I was comfortable over there because I actually had a few friends from California that I grew up with in my old neighborhood who lived kind of in the neighborhood. So I was able to catch up with them, from time to time, which made things a little bit easier, coming onto the team. Not really knowing anybody, being that the team had already gone through preseason, started the season on top of that. So, while I was feeling my way with the team, at least I had some people that I knew who I could go ahead and catch up with and at least kind of feel like home.
There by yourself the whole time.
Exactly.
So once you got there, what were the facilities like? Did they provide gear for you? What was like once you got onto the team? I've had nothing bad to say about any Australian team. I love the players, their personalities. There's a lot of egos. Everyone really gets along with each other. Give me a little description of your experience once you got down there, once you lived and played throughout the whole season.
Once I got down there, it was a huge change for me after being in Latin America, where they really don't give you anything. All the gear was taken care of. I mean, we had multiple practice sets, as far as with all types of tights, whether it was short length, full length, we had it. We had socks. We had a couple of sweatsuits, polos, and I don't think anybody had anything going on with shoes. I just played with my own shoes and whatnot. But, outside of that, I mean, they took care of everything, travel bags, backpacks, you name it, all that was taken care of. So, I mean, it was a good situation in that sense. So you didn't have to really worry about needing to buy extra things for work other than your shoes.
The medical stuff, and if there was any injuries or pulled muscles or something, they always had good rehab and medical services for you?
Yeah, the medical services is one of the best. I mean, between playing in Australia and in Japan, I mean, those were the two top-notch places that I played at. And we had masseuses, we had trainers on that were present at all times. weight and conditioning, coach. I mean, so everything was good. Whatever you needed, it was there.
And I think that was pretty much, you could say that for any Australian team that was down there. They're going to take, I always felt that Australia was America, but reduce it by 10% of the hustle and bustle and the kind of the got to be successful and everything. Australia is just a great laid back. I played in Melbourne. We go to the beaches before practices and stuff like that, and it was awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with you. I mean, our water recoveries a lot of times would be at the beach, depending on where we were kind of practicing at. At one point, we kind of bounced around a little bit due to just some issues with facilities. But being able to go down to the beach, do our water recovery, do some water workouts, I mean, it was great.
Awesome. So let's kind of dig into the last final portion, is the finances. Were there any financial hiccups or any issues with the team financially?
No, I mean, that's what made playing in Australia great. There was no financial issues. Everything was paid on time, paid in full. And I can't complain. And that, as a ball player, as you know, I mean, that's, a headache that you don't have to worry about. So, I mean, it was really, really good just knowing that, your money is going to be on time, in full, and it was just a matter of just, sending it back to the house.
Now, one last thing is in Australia, you do have to do a lot of, I think, just because the basketball it's almost like hockey. In the United States, you have football, baseball, basketball as the top three. But if you were to go and say hockey has a great following, but it just doesn't have the size that NFL does. I feel that basketball is that hockey in Australia, where you have the Aussie rules, you have the rugby, you have the cricket, but you don't. Basketball still has this close, small niche following, but it's not as big. What did you find, just as the fans of following basketball down in Australia?
I mean, I definitely agree with you. Basketball was always kind of the third tier sport being down there. But as far as with the fans, I mean, those who love basketball, I mean, they truly love it. And, between, following your individual team, people having the local adult leagues that people play in, or the club teams, as, they put it, the following was always very supportive. It was big. People, recognized you in terms of it, regardless of what city you were playing in, people knew who was who. So, it was, even though it's that status. Yeah, definitely. And I mean, plus with, having Fox Sports down there cover all the games, at the time, I mean, people knew who was who. You were able to watch, your rivals play, because everything was on TV. It wasn't like you had to get the DVD or anything like that to kind of do your scouting. So you could see real time what was going on, seeing who was being interviewed, et cetera. But I mean, it really gave you that professional feeling of, being down there and having people really, be involved with their team.
And then the last thing in Australia that I always found a little bit weird is there's a lot of community outreach. And being that third tier sport, I always felt that after practice, you'd have to get in a bus and you'd have to go drive out to some outskirts, and you'd have to put together for boys, maybe like a juvenile hall or a small town that was trying to be able to build up basketball. And you had to go out and do drills and basketball drills with them probably 3-4 days a week. Did you have to do that when you were down there also?
Yeah, mine wasn't 3 or 4 days. Mine was more like 4 or 5 days a week. Yes. So that, did become a little bit tedious at times. And just like you said, I mean, sometimes you're driving out to the middle of nowhere to, run your clinics and your camps. And I know that even though it was involved, it was in the contracts and whatnot. At the same time, I always found it to be a little bit interesting that it was kind of the foreigner, myself, really getting involved with that. So, you understand it's part of the business and whatnot, but I thought at times it was a bit tedious.
Yeah, especially right after practice. All you want to do is go sit down, relax, rehab the body and that type of stuff. So,
right. And so that's what turned,
So as an Australian player, you may have to look forward to that, doing a little bit of extra side work. But at the same time, if you're not in the top division, it's also a good way to make a little bit of extra income if you want to be able to run some of these camps outside of that. So some teams may come to you and say, hey, we can't pay you that $100,000, but you can make we can pay you $50,000, $60,000, but you can make another $20,000 throughout the year doing these little basketball clinics for the town kids.
Yeah, I mean, that all depends on location and what the availability is with being able to run the clinic, or the camps, and what people are able to afford. But there's definitely that opportunity that's there, in Australia to be able to make some side change, which is good. At the end of the day, if you're a hustler, it makes it worth your time and your effort to go ahead and be able to do so. If not, then you feel as if just like you said, you get done with the grueling practice, you just want to recover from it, but then you end up being on your feet for another 4 hours plus another 2 hours, hour here, hour there, commute. So it ends up, really turning into just a long, lengthy, tedious day. But, all that being said, I wouldn't change it.
Awesome. And let's just finalize. How would people reach out to you if they had any questions? Give me a little overall last 30 seconds of how Australia went for you and your experience.
If anybody has any questions, they can definitely reach me on Instagram. ErronMaxey.com Erron Maxey is my handle. I also have a mentoring life coach, page, which is Maxey_life coach. And just with any type of information that, somebody needs, whether it's just looking for advice, on the game, or just being able to see what is, my opinion on, playing in particular places, that's the easiest way to be able to reach me. And I'm always an honest, straightforward shooter.
Awesome. Erron, thank you for your time, and I'll be talking to you again about probably Japan and Argentina.
Hey, sounds great, Bennett. I appreciate being on the show.
Thanks, Erron. Bye.